Hey gang, and welcome back. This week we've got some new commanders, some old faces, and some fun stuff. This week, yes, I know, I'm playing Phenax, God of Deception. Sean is playing his Ruric Thar, the Unbowed. Tony is playing Phage, the Untouchable. And Harry is playing Tasigur, the Golden Fang. For openers, I keep 2 islands, Mana Vault, Tree of Perdition, Dimir Doppelganger, Black Sun Zenith, and Helm of Obedience. Sean keeps an opener with Cavern of Souls, Mountain, Worn Power Stone, Burning Tree Emissary, Oak Gnarl Warrior, Lightning Bolt, and Rada, Heir to Keld. Tony's opener had Rogue's Passage, 2 Swamps, Magus of the Will, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, Wretched Confluence, and Solemn Simulacrum. Harry's opener had Breeding Pool, Hissing Quagmire, Forbidden Alchemy, Birds of Paradise, Yawgmoth's Will, Dig Through Time, and Ketteric Leviathan. Tony wins the die roll and starts us off. Tony's first land is Rogue's Passage, and he passes to Sean. Sean plays Cavern of Souls and names Warrior. Harry plays Breeding Pool, taking 2 from the Shock land, and taps it to cast Birds of Paradise before passing to me. I play an island and choose not to cast Mana Vault, passing to Tony. Tony plays a Swamp and passes to Sean. Sean plays a Mountain and taps it and Cavern to cast Rada, Heir to Keld. Harry plays Hissing Quagmire and passes to me. I play an island for my turn and finally decide the time is right and cast Mana Vault before passing to Tony. Tony plays a Swamp and then casts Magus of the Will before passing to Sean. Sean plays Rugged Highlands for his land and gains 1 life and then taps Rada and his lands to cast Worn Power Stone. Harry drops an island and passes to me. I miss my land drop and have to pass to Tony. Tony plays his 3rd Swamp and casts Solemn Simulacrum, finding another Swamp. Sean's turn has him missing his land drop as well, but he casts Burning Tree Emissary and using the 2 floating mana he gets from the Emissary and tapping Rada and the rest of his mana, casts Kamal Pitfighter. He then taps Kamal, killing Tony's Magus of the Will. At the end of Sean's turn, Harry casts Forbidden Alchemy, keeping one of the 4 cards he's able to look at. During his first main phase, Harry casts Entomb, putting Consecrated Sphinx into his graveyard. He casts the Death Half from Life and Death, and reanimates Consecrated Sphinx, taking 6 damage. Having had a pretty eventful turn, he passes to me. To save myself from having to repeat it over and over again, if someone's drawing a card and Consecrated Sphinx is on the board, I guarantee Harry draws the 2 cards. Once again, missing yet another land drop, I'm forced to discard, and this time Dimir Doppelganger goes to my graveyard. I pass to Tony. Tony moves straight to combat, swinging Solemn Simulacrum at Harry. Harry, knowing the deck quite well, decides to take the 2, and Tony moves to his second main phase, playing a Swamp. Paying 4 mana, Tony casts Thran Dynamo, and then taps the Thran Dynamo to cast Sundial of the Infinite. During Sean's upkeep, he taps Kamal Pitfighter, dealing 3 damage to Consecrated Sphinx, and then taps 1 red to cast Lightning Bolt, finishing off the Sphinx. He then draws a card with the satisfaction knowing that Harry's not going to draw 2. Unfortunately, Sean also misses his land drop, and instead he casts Call of the Herd to generate a 3/3 elephant. Moving to combat, Burning Tree Emissary does 2 to me, and Rada, Heir to Keld does 2 to Harry. Harry plays a Swamp for his turn, and then casts Careful Study, drawing 2 cards and pitching 2 cards. He then casts Necromancy, targeting Ketteric Leviathan. This is a powerful interaction as Necromancy is able to go back to his hand thanks to the Leviathan. Leviathan goes back to the graveyard, and Harry's able to do it whenever he wants. Harry, not quite finished with his turn, exiles a bunch of cards and taps 1 black to bring out Tasigur, the Golden Fang. Harry now has too many cards and he's forced to discard Birds of Paradise before passing to me. My turn sees Underground River come into play and I recast Mana Vault. I pass to Tony, and at the start of his upkeep I cast Limdale's Vault, thinking I'll take a while to go through my library and pick out the cards. For Tony's turn he plays Maze of Ith, recast Thran Dynamo, and then recast Solemn Simulacrum, finding himself yet another Swamp. Sean unfortunately misses the land drop. He casts Burning Tree Emissary, uses the floating mana, and then taps Cavern of Souls to recast Worn Power Stone, and passes to Harry. Harry plays Reliquary Tower for his land drop, then casts Demonic Tutor. Whether it was a card he found or not, he casts Animate Dead, bringing Consecrated Sphinx back onto the field. Moving to combat, Sean takes a selfie and Tasigur smashes into me for 4. For my turn, still unable to find those lands, I tap Underground River, taking 1, and Mana Vault to cast Tree of Perdition. With nothing else, I pass to Tony. Tony plays a Swamp for his turn and moves to combat, swinging Solemn at Harry for 2. During his second main phase, Tony taps Thran Dynamo to cast Sundial of the Infinite and passes to Sean. Sean unfortunately misses another land drop and has to cast Drum Hunter and passes. Harry's turn is pretty quick. He plays a Forest, casts Sensei's Divining Top, moves to combat, swings Consecrated Sphinx at me for 3, and passes. On my upkeep, unable to untap Mana Vault, I take 1 damage, and then I play Darkwater Catacombs for my land drop. With nothing else, I pass to Tony. Tony's first main phase has him casting Wayfarer's Bauble, and he moves to combat, swinging Solemn Simulacrum at Harry. Harry declares no blocks, and in response I tap Tree of Perdition to drop him to 13. Harry responds by trying to disallow my activated ability, but Sean is able to force it through thanks to Guttural Response. Harry responds by activating Sensei's Divining Top, but can't find a way out, so Tree of Perdition drops him to 13, and Solemn does 2 more damage. During Tony's second main phase, he casts Phage the Untouchable, and has to activate Sundial the Infinite so that he doesn't lose the game. With the activated ability forcing him to end his turn, Tony passes to Sean. Sean continues his unlucky streak and is unable to draw a land, but thankfully he has enough mana and Caverns of Souls to cast Ruric Thar the Unbowed. He elects not to attack and instead passes to Harry. Harry misses his land drop as well, but is able to do stuff and cast Necromancy, taking 6 from Ruric Thar to bring back Keterek Leviathan. This again resets the board. Harry forgets to pick up his Sensei's Divining Top and instead casts Frantic Search, pitching Consecrated Sphinx and Verdant Catacomb. He untaps 3 lands and is able to recast Animate Dead, bringing back the Sphinx. He also remembers to return the Sensei's Divining Top to his hand and passes to me. For my turn, I play Vault of Whispers and then cast Eater of the Dead. I then pass to Tony. Tony gets to rebuild his board and cast Thrion Dynamo and then cast Solemn Simulacrum probably for like the millionth time to go find a swamp. In response to Solemn, I use Eater of the Dead to exile Keterek Leviathan. With nothing else, he passes to Sean. Sean, doing his best impression of Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day, does the exact same thing over again and recasts Burning Tree Emissary and then casts Worn Power Stone. Unfortunately, he has too many cards in his hand and has to discard. Harry plays Sunken Hollow for his land drop and then moves to combat, swinging the Sphinx at me for 3. In his second main phase, he casts Toxic Deluge, paying 4 life to kill the board except for Sphinx. With Solemn dying, Tony gets to draw a card. Having successfully dealt with Eater of the Dead, Harry passes to me, but Tony has a response. He casts Sudden Death, targeting the Sphinx, and the Sphinx finally dies. For my turn, I play a Swamp, and wanting to get in on the action, I cast my own Consecrated Sphinx. Harry pumps the brakes on this unfortunately and counterspells it. Apparently he's allowed to have it, but no one else can. Tony plays a Swamp for his turn. He then casts Liliana Vess and downticks her to put whatever card he wants from his library on top of it. Tony then recasts Sundial the Infinite and passes to Sean. Harry, however, is not done being the fun police, and he abrupt decays Sean's Worn Power Stone at the end of Tony's turn. Sean doesn't draw land, but he is able to cast the next best thing, which is Gruul Signet. He then taps the Signet to bring out Rada and passes to Harry. Harry plays Lumbering Falls for his land drop, and then pays 2 to cast Dance of the Dead, bringing back, you guessed it, Consecrated Sphinx. He then delves a bunch of cards away and pays 1 black to bring out Tasigur the Golden Fang before passing to me. At the end of Harry's turn, Tony casts Rend Flesh, targeting Consecrated Sphinx, but Harry's ready and swansongs it. For my turn, seemingly unable to hit a land drop consistently, I am forced to cast Puppeteer Click so I can steal Tony's Solemn Simulacrum and find myself a land. With a hefty helping of irony, I swing Tony's Solemn Simulacrum at his very own Liliana. I pass to Tony and Solemn Simulacrum gets exiled because of Puppeteer Click. In Tony's first main phase, he upticks Liliana, forcing Harry to discard a card. Tony then moves to combat and then gets some revenge, swinging his bird at me for 2. With nothing else, he passes to Sean. Sean finally hits that land drop and is able to cast Ruric Thar with Cavern of Souls, preventing it from being countered. He passes to Harry. At the beginning of Harry's upkeep, he pays 1 colorless and 1 black mana to untap Consecrated Sphinx. Moving to his first main phase, Harry casts Sidisi Undead Vizier, exploiting itself to go find a card and putting it into his hand. With nothing else, he passes to me. For my turn, I tap 9 mana to cast Black Sun Zenith for 7. I take 6 damage from Ruric Thar, and then get to bring back Puppeteer Click, who in turn brings back Consecrated Sphinx. Moving to combat, as the Consecrated Sphinx has haste, I make a poor choice and attack Tony for 4. With nothing else, I pass my turn and exile Harry's Consecrated Sphinx. Tony plays Deserted Temple for his land drop, and then kills Liliana Vess to find a card and put it on top. Making a statement more than anything practical, Tony pays 1 to activate Sundial the Infinite and ends his turn. Sean unfortunately is not able to draw a land and recasts Drum Hunter and passes to Harry. Harry plays a Swamp for his turn, and then casts Peregrine Drake to untap 5 lands. He casts Regrowth, bringing back Demonic Tutor to his hand. He casts Demonic Tutor, finding a card, and passes to me. On my turn during my upkeep, I take 1 from Mana Vault, and then move to my main phase. I cast Rhystic Study. I then cast Fabricate to find Mindcrank, and move to combat, swinging my Puppeteer Click at Tony. Tony taps Maze of Ith, bringing the Puppeteer Click out of combat. With nothing else, I pass to Tony. Tony's first main phase has Endless Whispers come into play, and then Phage the Untouchable comes back, and Tony has to end his turn with Sundial of the Infinite. He responds to the Sundial's trigger by casting Go for the Throat, killing Phage and causing Endless Whispers to trigger. Tony chooses Endless Whispers to give Phage to Sean, who has until the end of his next turn to win, or he'll lose the game. Sean is unable to draw an answer, and in turn scoops, which causes Phage to go to Tony's graveyard. Harry plays an island, and then casts Deadeye Navigator, parrying it with Peregrine Drake. Harry then generates infinite mana. He casts Tasigur and then follows it up with Dig Through Time. He finds 2 cards, one of which is Beast Within, which will allow him to win through a combo involving Reality Shift, Infinite Mana, and Tasigur. Having no way to respond to this combo, Tony and I lose. Game review time. I'm not really too sure what to say other than a turn 3 Consecrated Sphinx that goes unresolved for several turns is very, very, very good. Harry did a fantastic job of controlling the game pretty much from the get-go, and even though he went down to 1, he was still able to pull out a win in the end. Tony was playing Phage, which is more of a fun deck, but it's actually kind of cool to see how it works, especially with all the ways that you're able to cheat Phage out without losing the game. Sean told me afterwards that his deck was actually made from most of the parts of the Might side of Mind vs. Might dual deck, so it's kind of cool to see that he was able to make an EDH deck out of it. Also, that guttural response was super good. As always, after playing Phenax, I kind of wonder why I'm playing this deck. I'm not sure why, but it seems like whenever I play Phenax, my brain just shuts off. There were at least 2 opportunities where Tony or I could have killed Harry, and yet we both missed them. I guess because Harry's life total was so low, I didn't consider him much of a threat, and I was going for Tony to get him down lower. Please be sure to tune back in every Monday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed video, with sometimes additional videos added throughout the week. This video is brought to you with support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to look at the link below or in the About section. And as always, thank you for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.